So we have the Anoxomat instrument here. As you can see, it's a small instrument. It's maybe 12 inches by 12 inches there. For people who understand that, I can't convert that right now. This particular system, as it's set up right now, has 3 jar connections. This is not a typical configuration of the system. More common is to have 1 jar connection and 1 gas connection. This system has 2 gas connections on the back and 3 jar connections. But more common would be one input gas and then 1 jar connection, because the system is so fast. It creates the environments rapidly, so you don't need multiple connections most of the time unless you're doing hundreds and hundreds of plates per day. So you see you have your touchscreen display here, our start button. We'll get into all of that in a minute. We have our box of Paladox, our catalyst, our palladium catalyst, which goes into jars when we're creating the anaerobic environments. We have our ergonomic jars. These are our lightweight, easy to handle jars. You're able to stack these, and I'll get into that more, and nest them into the system. These hold 10 centimeters or 100 millimeter plates. This one holds 12 Petri dishes, and this one holds 24 Petri dishes. On the other side, we have our printer that can go along with the system. There is also an option for a barcode scanner. I don't have that available today. Then we have our other jar. This is our what we call our medium jar. One of the nice things about this jar, and I don't know if you can see it in there, but that rack that's in there will hold 96 well microtiter plates if you're looking to grow cultures in my 96 well plates. Then we have our large jar, and this holds 36 Petri dishes. And these are what we call our standard jars. These are an acrylic material. They're a little bit heavier, but very robust. And all of the jars are robust, but these are much lighter and easier to handle. And most people like the new design because, like I said, there's one of the things you can stack them together, or you can nest them together like this, and they gives you an opportunity to put more of them in the incubator. Okay. So now that's the system as it stands right now. There's a number of other features on the Anoxomat system that I'll go into once we get into the demonstration here. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch cameras. There we go. So how do you run the Anoxomat system? Well, it's quite simple. What we want to do is we want to take a jar. So we'll take this jar here, the 12-plate jar. We're going to grab one of these jar connections here. Doesn't matter which one, the system will know. And we're going to connect it to the system, just like that. So nothing to do there. So if this was an anaerobic environment, I would want to take my palladium catalyst, put it in the center here, which we already have. Then I would put my lid back on my jar, snap it shut, and then again, connect my system to my jar. So that's all you have to do to start the system. So I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. And then what we're going to do is zoom in. I hope everybody can see that screen well.
Yeah, perfect.
So what we're going to do here now is I've connected the jar. Now, unfortunately, I don't have anaerobic gas, so I can't run an anaerobic cycle here, but we're going to run a microaerophilic cycle. So I'm going to choose microaerophilic. I'm going to choose it here. I'll use choose my microaerophilic cycle. And the only thing I have to do next is hit the start button, which is actually out of the image there. And the system will start. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to check for incoming gas pressure. So you can see our incoming gas pressure is good. It's going to see which jars are connected. And then you can hear the pump running, I think. So what it's doing is it's evacuating that jar right now. So as I showed you in the video, it's removing the air from the jar. So it's removing the air from the jar. And right now we've got it down to the pressure that we want it at. And now we're checking for leaks. So we're going through that leak test. The QA process is one of the key features of the Anoxomat system. Because what we do is we guarantee that the correct environment is in this jar before you put it in the incubator. Unlike most other systems, gas packs, for instance, you don't know what the environment is when you put it in the incubator. You have to come back 24 hours later to see if it worked. With us, you know exactly what environment's in the jar, that it's a good environment, and that if the bacteria you're trying to grow is in that culture, it will grow in those environments. So we passed the leak test, and now we're adding the anaerobic gas back to the jar. In this particular case, we're just adding air. And now we're checking for the seal test. So again, we're going through, we've confirmed that the gas pressure is correct so that we're getting the proper gas into the system. We've confirmed that the jar is connected and that there's no leak under a vacuum. Now we're bringing it up almost to atmospheric pressure, and we're confirming again whether there's a leak in the jar at all. This is a double check of quality assurance to make sure that once this goes into the incubator, you will get growth, and confirms that you have the right environment in the jar. So I heard a click. I thought it was going to tell me I passed. Filling the jar right now.
Hey, Rick, do you think you can zoom in a little bit? Seems like you zoomed out.
Zoom in again?
Yeah, that'd be great. Looks like you zoomed out. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we've passed the leak test and seal test, as I said already. Now we're completing the cycle for the microaerophilic environment. And then we see that the jar is ready and it can go into the incubator. So now what I'll do is I would disconnect the jar. Here, I'll zoom back out again just to show you this part. So there's a little tab on the bottom of on the connector here. I just push that down. The connector pops out. Take my jar and off to the incubator I go. So, as I said, one of the key features of the system here is this quality assurance system. So in this particular case, because it's microaerophilic, we did not do the catalyst test. The catalyst is not required for microaerophilic environments, and the catalyst is only required for anaerobic environments. And that's important to understand, because you want to make sure in your microaerophilic environments that you do have that oxygen still available in there for those bacteria. If you put a catalyst in a microaerophilic, it will remove the 6% oxygen over some time, and then you may not get growth. But it's important to know that there's no need for a catalyst with the microaerophilic, only the anaerobic. We know that our gas is connected properly. Now, the typical gas we use for the Anoxomat is 85% nitrogen, 10% CO2, and 5% hydrogen. And the system confirms that it's coming in the right pressure so that we get the right flow into the jar every time we do the evacuation and replacement. So we have the complete quality assurance levels there on the system. It checks it and you're ready to go. We also can get a printout of the system from before, which shows you the same thing. It'll show you the equipment serial number, date and time, the recipe that was chosen, the gases that were connected, that the pressure was correct, and that it passed all the QC, and then what's actually in the jar, the gas mixture in the jar. You see this says 6% O2 down there. I don't know if you can see that, but that's what you get when you're from the printout.